Cardiovascular physiology, the regulation of arterial pressure, understanding how the body maintains blood pressure. Welcome to this episode where we explore one of the most fundamental aspects of cardiovascular physiology, the regulation of arterial pressure. This process is not only intricate, but it is also absolutely vital for ensuring that organs receive enough blood to function and for sustaining life itself. Let us begin with the core principle, the relationship between pressure and flow. The body's regulation of arterial pressure is designed to guarantee a steady supply of blood, or perfusion, to all vital organs. The primary variable under regulation here is mean arterial pressure, which represents the average pressure within the arteries during a single heartbeat and typically falls between 90 and 100 millimeters of mercury. To maintain this pressure, the body balances two main factors: cardiac output and total peripheral resistance. Cardiac output refers to the amount of blood the heart pumps each minute, which is determined by multiplying the heart rate by the amount of blood ejected with each beat. Total peripheral resistance, on the other hand, is the overall resistance to blood flow offered by all the blood vessels, and this is largely influenced by the diameter of the small arteries called arterioles. In essence, mean arterial pressure is the product of cardiac output and total peripheral resistance. Therefore, the body can adjust either cardiac output, total peripheral resistance, or both to keep arterial pressure within a healthy range. Now, let us discuss the multi-layered system the body uses to regulate arterial pressure. There are three main tiers, each with distinct mechanisms and response times. The first tier is short-term regulation, which operates through neural controls and responds within seconds to minutes. This system includes the baroreceptor reflex, the chemoreceptor reflex, and what is known as the central nervous system ischemic response. These are the body's rapid reaction forces, correcting sudden changes in pressure such as those experienced when standing up quickly. The baroreceptor reflex is the most significant short-term regulator. Specialized sensors called baroreceptors, which are stretch receptors found in the carotid sinuses of the neck and the aortic arch, detect changes in arterial pressure. Information from these sensors travels via the glossopharyngeal and vagus nerves to the cardiovascular center in the medulla oblongata, the brain's control hub for heart and blood vessel function. The autonomic nervous system then sends signals to the heart and blood vessels. When arterial pressure drops, the baroreceptors sense less stretch and reduce their signals to the brainstem. This triggers an increase in sympathetic nervous activity and a decrease in parasympathetic outflow. As a result, the heart beats faster and more forcefully, and the blood vessels constrict. Together, these changes raise cardiac output and total peripheral resistance, which in turn restores arterial pressure toward normal. If arterial pressure rises too high, the reverse occurs. The body decreases sympathetic activity and increases parasympathetic activity, leading to slower heart rate, reduced force of contraction, and dilation of the blood vessels. This lowers both cardiac output and resistance, bringing arterial pressure back down. The chemoreceptor reflex is activated when the body detects low oxygen levels, high carbon dioxide levels, or increased acidity in the blood. While its primary role is to regulate breathing, it also stimulates sympathetic activity, causing blood vessels to constrict and arterial pressure to rise. If blood pressure drops extremely low, typically below 50 millimeters of mercury, the central nervous system ischemic response kicks in. This is a desperate measure, where reduced blood flow to the brain directly stimulates the vasomotor center, resulting in widespread and intense constriction of blood vessels to quickly raise arterial pressure and restore blood flow to the brain. The second tier of regulation operates over minutes to hours and involves hormonal changes and fluid shifts. These mechanisms are particularly important when the initial neural responses begin to adapt, such as during significant blood loss. One of the key players here is the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. When the kidneys sense reduced blood flow or decreased sodium delivery, they release a hormone called renin. Renin converts a substance produced by the liver into angiotensin-1, which is then changed into angiotensin-2 by an enzyme in the lungs. Angiotensin-2 is a powerful constrictor of blood vessels, increasing total peripheral resistance. It also stimulates the release of aldosterone from the adrenal glands, which prompts the kidneys to reabsorb sodium and water, expanding blood volume and boosting cardiac output. Additionally, angiotensin-2 triggers the release of antidiuretic hormone and increases thirst, further helping restore arterial pressure. Antidiuretic hormone, also known as vasopressin, is released in response to increased concentration of solutes in the blood or a significant drop in blood volume and pressure. It acts to constrict blood vessels and encourages the kidneys to retain water, both of which contribute to raising arterial pressure. Another intermediate mechanism is the capillary fluid shift. When arterial pressure drops, the pressure within capillaries also decreases. This alters the balance of forces across capillary walls, causing fluid to move from the spaces between cells into the blood vessels. This increases blood volume and cardiac output, helping restore pressure. The third and most powerful tier is long-term regulation, governed by the kidneys and involving changes that occur over hours to days. The kidneys are ultimately responsible for setting the long-term level of arterial pressure by managing the volume of blood in the body. When arterial pressure increases, the kidneys respond by excreting more sodium and water, reducing blood volume and, consequently, cardiac output. This brings arterial pressure back down. Conversely, if pressure drops, the kidneys conserve sodium and water, increasing blood volume and cardiac output to restore normal pressure. This renal mechanism operates until the precise amount of water and salt is excreted or retained to achieve the set point for arterial pressure. It is the only system capable of completely correcting persistent pressure changes, such as the high blood pressure resulting from chronic salt retention. Let us see how these systems work together during real-life situations. In the case of acute blood loss, the baroreceptor reflex immediately increases heart rate and constricts vessels. Within half an hour, the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system and antidiuretic hormone become active, further constricting vessels and conserving fluid. Over the next few hours, capillary fluid shifts help replenish plasma volume. In the following days, the kidneys retain salt and water until blood volume is fully restored. Chronic hypertension often involves a malfunction in the long-term kidney regulation system. For example, conditions like narrowing of the kidney arteries or excessive salt intake can shift the pressure-natriuresis relationship, meaning the kidneys require a higher arterial pressure to excrete the same amount of salt and water. This leads to a new, higher set point for arterial pressure. In summary, the regulation of arterial pressure is a remarkable orchestration. It encompasses immediate adjustments by the baroreflex, intermediate stabilization by hormones and fluid shifts, and, ultimately, the unwavering long-term control exerted by the kidneys. This hierarchy enables the body to maintain blood pressure under varying conditions, ensuring survival and optimal organ function. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy our content, please like, share and hit the subscribe button. It's the Everything Surgery Podcast. Dissect the extraordinary.